Abbie and John David Duggar, who were previously on Counting On, tied the wedding and then delayed to go on honeymoon. It has now been revealed online what the actual cause of this delay was. Stay tuned for the whole scoop. The wedding of John David and Abbie took place on November 3, 2018. Grace Annette is the couple's daughter. In January, she became 2 years old. Since John David and Abbie aren't big social media users, their followers don't get many glimpses into their daily life. However, they do sometimes update each other on themselves and their cute kid. Their admirers are now reliving the happy couple's wedding and honeymoon. For what reason did the Duggars delay to travel on their honeymoon, Abbie and John David? A clip from an old episode of Counting On has made its way back online, and it shows John David Duggar's early days as a husband on Reddit. A Reddit member captured John David's views by reposting a few images with closed captions. He discussed his honeymoon and Abbie's decision to postpone it in the show. A lengthy overseas trip was not something they were interested in. Just because you don't want to be cooped up in an airplane for 24 hours right after you get married, he remarked. To have a more lavish honeymoon, we decided to postpone. Some Duggar trolls have commented on the Reddit article, pointing out how clear it is that John David and Abbie were just thrilled to be sexual. Living and sleeping together is something the Duggars save until after marriage. They also usually don't kiss each other before they tie the knot. John David and Abbie apparently were not in the mood to wait around any longer. If their international travel had taken 24 hours, it would have put a damper on their other plans. Many people, nonetheless, can empathize with Abbie and John David Duggar's choice. I believe that makes sense. Someone writes, I really regret not delaying my honeymoon. I seldom stepped out of the resort throughout my trip to Hawaii. What a waste of funds. The love tale of John David Duggar and Abbie Grace Burnett enchanted followers of the Duggar family from the start. Everyone who saw their courting could see that they were extremely much in love since it was so fast-paced compared to other Duggar relationships. Following their November 2018 wedding, many thought the newlyweds would go on a lavish honeymoon right away. Many were interested as to why John David and Abbie, much to everyone's surprise, decided to postpone their honeymoon plans. Fans speculated about a variety of reasons, including health issues and family responsibilities. However, the true reason for postponing their honeymoon became apparent as time passed. It was a nice change from the usual Duggar way of life, but the real reason was love, pragmatism, and wanting to do things their own. Discover the whole backstory of John David and Abbie's honeymoon postponement and the insights it offers into their love. John David and Abbie's relationship must be understood in context before we can delve into the reasons for their postponed honeymoon. Their love grew swiftly, in contrast to the Duggar family's more drawn-out courtships. The two had an instant connection after meeting at a religious event in Oklahoma in June 2018. They were engaged in wedding planning in no time at all. They were different from John David's more quiet siblings in their fun courting dynamic. John David seemed to relish in Abbie's vivacious energy, and fans remarked that she had a fiery personality. They also weren't bashful about telling supporters how pumped they were. Their brief relationship was evidence of their deep connection, and they often gushed about how they were fated to be together. Following in the traditions of previous Duggar siblings who had celebrated their nuptials with extravagant excursions, fans anticipated that the pair would have a conventional honeymoon immediately after their wedding, given the depth of their devotion. John David and Abbie, being themselves, had other ideas. John David and Abbie Duggar had their first child, Grace Annette Duggar, in January of 2020, not long after they announced their marriage. Unfortunately, Abbie had a difficult pregnancy. Among the main reasons they chose to postpone their honeymoon, it was indeed hyperemesis gravidarum, or severe morning sickness, is a medical disease that Abbie suffered from during her pregnancy. It causes extreme nausea, vomiting, and dehydration. Kate Middleton, Duchess of Cambridge, is one of several famous women who have suffered from this illness. Travel was not only unpleasant, but also possibly hazardous for Abbie due to her crippling sickness. John David and Abbie decided to postpone their honeymoon until Abbie felt better during her first trimester since their health became their first priority. The couple put off planning a romantic holiday in order to concentrate on getting Abbie the care she needed during her most difficult months of pregnancy. Many were impressed by John David's commitment to his new wife, Abbie, and they lauded him for prioritizing her health. Fans have grown to respect the couple's chemistry, and the choice to postpone the honeymoon was a difficult one that showcased John David's supporting character and the depth of their connection. John David's strong sense of duty to his family and work also contributed to postponing their honeymoon. John David has always been recognized for his dedication to helping his community, in contrast to some of his siblings who have chosen professions in television or real estate. As a pilot, volunteer fireman, and deputy sheriff, John David juggles many essential responsibilities. Even though his work in aviation takes up much of his time, he is also a certified real estate agent. John David is well known among viewers as one of the more serious Duggar brothers, a man who places a premium on duty, devotion, and perseverance. John David had little downtime in the weeks before his wedding since he was juggling work and wedding preparations. John David was probably fatigued by the time their wedding day came. Therefore, it may not have been the best choice to go on a honeymoon immediately after. Delaying the honeymoon allowed him to concentrate on getting his life in order, both professionally and personally, thanks to his strong sense of responsibility and devotion to his community. The audience knows that John David is totally devoted to Abbie, and they also admire his work ethic. John David would make sure that he and Abbie could have a romantic getaway free of interruptions when the time was perfect, even if his work commitments delayed their honeymoon. John David and Abbie were able to receive their much-deserved honeymoon even though they were late. The newlyweds eschewed the conventional coastal honeymoon in favor of an adventure that would allow them to fully immerse themselves in their shared interests and personalities. John David and Abbie decided to make an element of their journey that would bring them together: their love of adventure and flight. John David piloted the aircraft as the pair set off on a cross-country flying trip. They flew across the United States, stopping at beautiful locales along the way and relishing in the independence that comes with air travel. Their adventurous and self-reliant honeymoon reflected the things that people adore about them: their desire for adventure and independence. John David's love of flying is well known, so it was obviously a highlight of the postponed honeymoon for them to be able to share that experience with Abbie. Once again proving that they are well suited to one another, his ever-supportive companion Abbie was overjoyed to accompany him on this excursion. John David and Abbie's original goal was to postpone their honeymoon, but they later realized it was the best choice. They became closer as a pair as they got through the first trimester, which was challenging, while still juggling work, and planned a memorable honeymoon. John David and Abbie's fans have stuck with them, applauding their choice to put family and health first rather than tradition. There is no one correct way to start a marriage, and their experience serves as a reminder that all relationships go at their own pace. John David and Abbie have shown to be an effective team by working together and laughing off adversity. Their delayed honeymoon was more of a reflection of their undying love and devotion to one another than a disappointment.